the Best Actress prize for her role in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
We want to be seen, we want to be heard, and tonight you have shown us that it is possible.
The end could be near for a popular comic strip.
7 former... Hey, that's my bathroom.
Gilbert's distributor has cut ties with creator Scott Adams after several publishers dropped the strip. They called out Adams for labeling black people members of a hate group and advising white people to get away. Dow up 258. This is CBS News.
Business owners, General Steel can help save you thousands by owning your own custom-designed buildings. Call 888-98-STEEL or visit generalsteel.com.
I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I love Navage. I've told you about how your nose is the body's air filter, that Navage's powered suction will help flush out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, and that Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like Tara, quote, "My doctor wanted me to do saline rinses for my allergies, but I've never been able to successfully use a neti pot. Navage uses suction power, so it's foolproof. There are nights when I'll have particularly bothersome allergies. I'll bust it out, and the results are immediate. It's such a relief. It's become a lifesaver." Unquote. She's one of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage, the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
The Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and online at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
From downtown Murfreesboro, Tennessee, this is J. Paul Newman, and you are listening to the Roundtable on your Good Neighbor station, WGNS. And here's what's on the menu at today's Roundtable. We will devote the entire hour as we proudly welcome to the WGNS microphones District Attorney General Jennings Jones, who serves the 16th Judicial District of Tennessee, a district which includes both Rutherford County and Cannon County. Jennings Jones has served our community with honor and distinction for many, many years. First as an assistant district attorney, and since 2014, the citizens of the 16th Judicial District have selected Jennings Jones to serve as our District Attorney General. I am proud to have worked both with and for Jennings Jones, and I am honored to call Jennings Jones my friend. Today, Jennings and I will be discussing not only his unique background and his vast courtroom experience, but also the office that he so skillfully manages, the District Attorney's Office for the 16th Judicial District of Tennessee. I am truly looking forward to spending this hour with Jennings Jones, and I believe you will find this time to be both entertaining and informative. We will begin our broadcast by welcoming to the WGNS microphones today's leader and legend, Jennings Jones. And we welcome you now to my interview with the District Attorney General for the 16th Judicial District of Tennessee, the Honorable Jennings Jones. And as we begin our discussion of his fascinating legal career and the role the District Attorney's Office plays in seeking justice for all in our community, we welcome General Jones to the WGNS Roundtable.
Thank you, Paul. In your intro, you say my extraordinary career, and you say many glowing things. I won't tell you. I don't know that I live up to the hype, but you're very kind to say so. I have been blessed with a good career. I've enjoyed my time in the district attorney's office, and I've enjoyed working with you and all the other ADAs who have been in the office. So I appreciate that introduction.
Well, it is a heartfelt introduction, and every word of it, I believe, is true.
Okay.
Now, General Jones, you come from a long and distinguished line of people who had a tremendous impact on our community. Please tell us about your family history from wherever you wish to begin and up to your present generation.
All right. My grandfather, Jones, came from East Tennessee. When he came to town, I believe after the war, he came as an engineer for TVA. And at the time, most of Tennessee did not have electricity. And so he was selling electricity to farmers, which was a bit of a hard sell at the time. So he did well with that. And then eventually he went into construction. He founded and ran Murfreesboro Ready Mix. He became a successful businessman there. He did very well for himself on the stock market and became mayor. He had a lot to do with bringing I-24 through Murfreesboro, which is one of the things that has allowed Murfreesboro to really take off. My grandfather Hay was a doctor. He came to town, married his brand new wife. He also was from East Tennessee. He had a great deal to do with the creation of the radiology department at the local hospital. He used to tell me that he arranged for delivery of X-ray films to the hospital for analysis. Had the bread truck that would go around to different locations, and he got the bread truck to pick up X-rays and bring them to the hospital. So he had all sorts of good stories about that. My father is an engineer by trade, and he served as an engineer for the state of Tennessee for some time, designed I won't say the original, but one of the previous sewage treatment facilities here in Murfreesboro. Eventually, he and his business partner bought out my grandfather from Murfreesboro Ready Mix, now Southland Supply. Ran that for a while, and before he retired. He doesn't like the word retired, but I think it fits. Maybe he won't listen to this. He served on the Tennessee Higher Education Commission, currently serves on the Murfreesboro, or I guess Rutherford County Election Commission, and he has done quite well for himself. My brother is retired from the Air Force as a lieutenant colonel, served several tours in Afghanistan and Iraq, and he now flies FedEx, lives in Anchorage and flies for FedEx. So it's been a motley crew, a good crew of folks. I'm very proud of my family.
And you should be proud of your family. Great accomplishments. I know I had the privilege, I've met your father, and one thing that I know you probably won't comment on, but I will.
Yes, sir.
Is I have seen the desk that your father made for you. That is the most impressive work I have seen in an office that I can remember. You know, he has outstanding abilities in that area.
He does. My father is a very accomplished woodworker. He self-taught. He has gone to some trainings and whatnot. He has learned from Alf Sharp, who lives in Woodbury, and has picked up a lot of talent, a lot of skill with it. He did, in fact, make my desk in my office. It is an impressive piece of goods. Make sure to tell everyone who comes in that it was not bought by the taxpayer, but was rather given to me by my father. But it is a beautiful desk and one that I will always treasure.
And I would also like for you to tell us a little bit about the Jennings Jones School of Business.
Yes, the Jennings Jones School of Business at MTSU. My grandfather, as I say, he was quite successful in his time, and he endowed MTSU with a couple of chairs, one of which is the business chair at MTSU. That is based out of the business school, Jennings Andrew Jones Business School. That has been managed until very recently by Dean Urban, who I think is still there. And Dean Urban does an exceptional job there. It's well known, well recognized, and is becoming better and better recognized. So I'm very proud of that.
One of my fond memories of working in the DA's office was you and I, on occasion, would go to the city cafe, and we would have lunch with your grandfather. I believe his last name was Hayes. Is that correct?
Yes,
he was
that
a
is
doctor.
correct.
He was such a wonderful man. Tell us a little bit more about him.
Granddaddy Hay, he grew up, I grew up with Granddaddy Hay taking me around, introducing me to all of his friends who at the time, being very young, I had no idea who they were. But he would always, one of the places he loved to go was a city cafe. And we would go to the city cafe and sit at the communal table. And he would introduce me to everyone there for the umpteenth time. And we would just sit there and talk. I would do most of the listening, and he would do a lot of the talking. But that was a good time and a treasured memory. Grandfather Hay has since passed on, but he was an amazing man, and he taught me a great deal about life and what it means to be a good person.
Well, Jennings, you were blessed with a wonderful family.
I have been.
I want you to tell us about your college memories and going to law school.
All right. College memories and going to law school. College, I went to college at Washington and Lee University in Virginia. Graduated from college in 1995 with a bachelor's degree in accounting. You might ask, how did I go from accounting to law? And that's a very good question. I think I probably picked the wrong major in college, but that never stopped me. From college, went to law school, went to the University of Memphis. I guess it was known as the Cecil C. Humphreys School of Law in Memphis. Graduated from there in '98. That was a good law school. I'm happy to have been there. Memphis was at the time a little bit of a rough time, a little rough town at times. But I enjoyed it, and I don't know that I would change it. What did I do next? I guess when I graduated, my primary interest was in getting a job. Suddenly I needed to put bread on my own table, and that was a driving incentive. I was not particularly a good public speaker. I don't claim to be still, but I applied to the district attorney's office, and I applied to the public defender's office. Bill Weitzel, former DA, who taught me a lot of things. Had my second interview with Bill on the day of my first interview with Gerald Melton, the public defender, and Bill extended a job offer. I took the offer and had to call Gerald and tell him that I was otherwise employed. But a good memory.
Well, it's amazing, and I didn't realize that, but you and I both traveled similar paths in that when I came to Murfreesboro, I interviewed both with the DA's office and the public defender's office. And fortunately for me, the district attorney's office job came open first. But tell us about how you rose from the ranks of being hired. And I understand that you also did some internships that might have helped you to develop. But tell us about that, and then how ultimately you became the District Attorney General for the 16th Judicial District of Tennessee.
All right. While I was in law school, I interned in a lot of different places. I was given some advice, and I believe it to have been very good advice. I did 2 internships every year. So the summer of my first year, summer of my second year. First interned in the courtroom of Federal Judge Robert Eccles. After that, I interned with a law firm in Nashville, Neal & Harwell.
Wonderful law firm.
Wonderful law firm. I learned a lot there. Matter of fact, and we'll talk about this in a little while, I suspect, but one of my mentors, Aubrey Harwell, family friend, source of a lot of good advice during my career, was there and helped me to get several internships and gave me advice throughout. After that, I interned with Chancellor Corlew here locally. And then my final internship was at the district attorney's office. So that gave me a little bit of a foundation to apply for the job after the end of my third year. As I say, I was hired by the district attorney's office, started here, and that was in, 1998. Graduated in 98 and was hired shortly after graduation for the DA's office. Started, of course, in General Sessions Court and practiced in front of first, I guess, Ben Hall McFarland, then Judge David Lowry. Moved on up to Circuit Court, where I practiced in front of Judge Clayton. Then I moved from Judge Clayton to, you and I were in front of Judge Ash for many years.
Yes.
After Judge Ash, I think it was Judge Siskin, and then in front of Judge Bragg. And while I was working in front of Judge Bragg in 2014, I guess perhaps 2013, Bill told the office that he did not intend to run for office again. And so I spent some time soul searching and even more time talking to my wife and my family, and determined that I would run for district attorney. Would never have run against Bill. Have a great deal of loyalty to Bill. He gave me my first real job, and have a great debt to him. But upon his retirement, I decided to run, and I was fortunate enough to be elected as district attorney for Rutherford and Cannon counties.
And I think that you have also had to run again. This time, I think it was unopposed. Is that correct?
That is correct. I did a whole lot of jury trials in front of Judge Ash, and one of the things that Judge Ash was known for was a bit of a speech that he would give to the jurors, and he talked about his time as judge and the different times that he had run. And one of the things that he said was that during one of his campaigns he had run unopposed, and that was the best way to run. I cannot tell you how correct he was in saying that. But yes, that I have run a second time. I have received a second term, and terms 8 years, so I have until 2032.
Oh, good. Very good. You have mentioned earlier some of your mentors. Can you tell us a little bit more about those people who truly influenced your life?
Yes, sir. Mentors. There are three people who are attorneys who were very much foundations of my career. The first two are family friends who I've known all of my life. Bob Brame, who from 1997 to 2000 was on the board of the National Labor Relations Board, and Aubrey Harwell, who is also a family friend, works in Nashville, and a very successful attorney there at the firm of Neal and Harwell. Those two I've known all of my life, and they have at various times coming up, both in college, in law school, as an assistant DA, and as DA. They have given me exceptionally good advice that has steered me clear of some hard situations. The third attorney who has been a mentor to me by example and by watching him is Bill Weitzel. Bill is one of the most amazing prosecutors I've ever seen. Bill is a closer on cases unlike any I've ever seen. He can stand up, pick out the smallest fact of a case, and use that to build a closing argument that is just will have you standing and cheering and applauding at the end of it. So the three of those are the attorneys who have given me a lot of foundation. The other two, pardon me, my father and my mother. My father taught me to how to push, how to work hard, how not to take no for an answer. My mom taught me a little bit more about being kind. Then next, my grandfather Hay. My grandfather Hay taught me a lot about life, taught me that you need to smile, and more importantly, help others to smile. Those I guess 6 with Mom, were really the foundations of my life.
You know, one thing that I've had to deal with in my career, and I know you've probably been asked the same question, is you mentioned that you had applied to both the Public Defender's Office and the District Attorney's Office. People have asked me, how could you do that? How could you say, I would like to defend people, and then on the other hand say, I'd like to prosecute people?
Yeah.
Explain that.
Well, 2-part answer. The first is being hungry is a big motivator. When you need to put money on your table, when you need to have money to put food on your table, it's a motivator. But secondly, and perhaps more importantly, the job of the District Attorney's Office is to seek justice. And believe it or not, that is one of the goals of the Public Defender's Office. The Public Defender's Office is, they have to seek the best interest of their client, but they do so by making sure that the police, government agencies follow the correct steps. We are a society of laws, and if you don't follow those laws, if you don't follow the rules, then you have government run amok. And so the Public Defender's Office protects society just as much as the District Attorney's Office, if in a slightly different way.
My special guest today is the District Attorney General for the 16th Judicial District of Tennessee, Jennings Jones, and we will return after the break.
Chip Walters here with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates. I was named a top 10 agent in the #1 Exit Realty office in America in 2021. The top question I get around town, how's the market? Good question. And the answer's changed a few times this year alone. I'd like to know what you've heard and share some solid data we have. Give me a call and let's have a cup of coffee and take a look at what's happening in your neighborhood. All my contact info is right on my website, choosechip.net. I'm Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates.
Guys, if you've noticed a lack of energy, motivation, and drive, it could be low T. Schedule your complete health assessment at Low T Center. They now offer the convenience of monitored self-inject at-home testosterone treatments for only $155 a month cash pay, or covered by most health insurance. If you don't live near Low T Center, or you just need the convenience of at-home treatment, Low T Center makes it easy to get started on treatment. Only your first 2 visits are in person. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book your appointment online. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Del Walmsley and the Wealth Cycle.
This is the wealth cycle that I've taught for 30 years. Buy 1 house, 10 houses, an apartment, 2 apartments, 8, 20, 500 units, 1,000 units, 2,000, 5,000 units. And as you keep putting the money and the profits back in, you become one of those rich people. And much quicker than you'd even believe.
Learn Del's Wealth Cycle at GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. Use promo code 2023. Save 60%. Code 2023. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com.
When should you take a tour of Adams Place?
Well, I don't think it's ever too early. I drive by here, and I kept thinking, now that's where I think I would like to live.
We're talking with Carol Johnston.
And so I did take a tour, and it's a homey atmosphere. That's what I liked about it. Don't wait too long.
I'm Terry Deal. Call me for more information about Adams Place, located at 1927 Memorial Boulevard, across from Walmart.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by AmeriCare Pest Control and the law offices of John Day.
This is a paid legal ad.
When a family member is lost as a result of someone else's negligence, the grief can be unbearable. It also leaves you with a lot of questions like, how did this happen? Who's responsible? And is my family going to be okay? That's a lot to go through, but with the law offices of John Day on your side, you don't have to go through any of it alone. We understand what you're going through, and we have the experience to get the answers, justice, and compensation your family deserves. Call the law offices of John Day.
What's happening around town, you're about to learn on WGNS Good Neighbor Events. Habitat for Humanity's Comedy Night will be Thursday night, March the 9th, 6 o'clock, over at the Embassy Suites. The tickets are $50, and that includes dinner and the comedy show. Ventriloquist Taylor Mason is the guest star. For information, call Habitat for Humanity. And the morning after that, Friday morning, March 10th, it's the Red Cross Heroes Breakfast in the ballroom at MTSU's Student Union Building. And they're honoring posthumously Mark Pirtle, along with a special Volunteer Spotlight Award for Dr. Gloria Bonner. Again, the Red Cross Heroes Breakfast, Friday morning, March 10th at 7:30 in MTSU's Student Union Ballroom. Don't throw away Old Glory. Bring your tattered American flag to WGNS and let the girls from BSA Troop 2019 at Trinity United Methodist Church retire it with dignity. Plus, we also recycle Bibles. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Good neighbor weather. A wind advisory is in effect today. A few scattered rain showers early this afternoon with decreasing cloud cover, a high in the mid-70s. Then tonight, mostly clear, low 46. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently, it's 64.
Broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios, MTE Sharing Change is funded by members who round up their electric bills to the nearest dollar each month as a donation and support hundreds of local nonprofits. Find out more at sharingchange.org.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
This is J. Paul Newman, and you are listening to the Monday edition of the Roundtable as we welcome you back to my interview with the District Attorney General for the 16th Judicial District of Tennessee, Jennings Jones. General Jones, welcome back to the WGNS Roundtable.
Thank you, Paul.
And Jennings, I want you to tell us a little bit. I know that you are the head district attorney, the big decision maker, the person who makes everything roll for everybody in the office. But tell us about some of the attorneys on your staff.
All right. Well, we have a total of 22 criminal attorneys, 22 attorneys on the criminal side of the office, and 2 attorneys on the child support side of the office. I can't tell you about all of them. They're just too many. I am exceptionally proud of my entire team. We have folks who have been there for 24, 25 years. Trevor Lynch has been there. He started as an intern with myself. Trevor is currently handling most of the murders in the office, does an excellent job. 2 folks who handle perhaps the worst cases in the office are Sharon Reddick and Hugh Ammerman. Sharon and Hugh handle cases where we have child victims, either child physical or sexual abuse, and they handle those cases which are oh so hard to handle and can truly burn a person out, and they handle those with grace and aplomb. Team leaders, we have Sarah Davis, Matt Westmoreland, Allison Abbott, and Sheila Fries. And they all 4 manage their divisions and do an excellent job. But there are so many more, and we could spend the entire hour going through each of them.
And they're all good people. I've worked with most of them, and I can tell you did a good job of staffing your office.
You're kind. Thank you for saying that.
Now, can you tell us what is the role, function, and mission of the District Attorney's Office?
Sure. First, the district attorney is a constitutional officer. The district attorney's offices, or the position of district attorney, is created by the Tennessee State Constitution. We are elected every 8 years, so our term is 8 years in office. It is a state office funded by the state, although we do receive a little funding from the county, a little from the city, and some from grants. The mission or the role of the district attorney's office is to prosecute all non-federal criminal events within Rutherford and Cannon counties, the 16th Judicial District. So we have a very full plate. What do I do personally? I manage the office, advise the legislature on criminal issues, work with law enforcement, and get involved in the more serious cases within the office.
And one thing that I neglected to ask about is your support staff. I know it's a wonderful support staff. I've worked with them. Tell us about your support staff.
Okay. The support staff, I have first could not work without Renee Sissom. Renee is my administrative assistant. Renee started under District Attorney General Guy Dotson Sr., worked with Bill Weitzel, and now is still there with me. And she has a very firm grasp of the business side of the office. Beyond that, we have three victim witness coordinators. We have 3 division coordinators. We have front desk personnel and then investigators in the office. And they all work together with the staff, that work together with the attorneys to keep the ball rolling.
And can you tell us where your office is located, and how can a citizen contact your office?
Absolutely. The office is at 320 West Main Street, Suite 100. Used to be the old Regions Bank building, or perhaps the old post office, depending on what or when you knew it. The office's phone number is 615-898-8008, and we're there 5 days a week, and sometimes we're there a little bit longer if we're prepping cases.
Does your office have an attorney that works in juvenile court?
We do. An attorney by the name of John Cameron. John handles juvenile court, handles almost all matters in juvenile court. He works together with Trevor from time to time on murder cases where we wish to seek a transfer of the juvenile from juvenile court up to adult court. But he has done an excellent job and seems to be very well received in juvenile court. I'm very proud of him.
Describe a typical day in the life of Jennings Jones.
There is no typical day. Every day just depends on what happens. Sometimes I am placed in the role of reacting. Typically, I try to wake up and ride my bike about 15 to 20 miles just to get everything going. I'll come into the office, and what happens next depends on what's going on in the jurisdiction. Could be that I have to respond to an overnight officer-involved shooting. Could be a death, an in-custody death. Frequently, I will work with law enforcement on either crafting or correcting a search warrant. Prepping cases for trial. Sometimes I'm called up to Nashville to an executive committee meeting with the district attorney's conference, or to speak with members of the legislature. So no day is like another. They're each very distinct and unusual.
Have we recovered, and has our court system recovered from the COVID epidemic?
You know, COVID was hard on us. We're considered essential personnel, so when there is an event that shuts down the courthouse, it usually doesn't touch us. We keep on going. However, in this particular instance, the Tennessee Supreme Court issued an order that shut down all of the courts in the state. All the courts except for a very few to handle jail cases. And that really put a check in our stride. That slowed us down for a while. We were unable for a long period of time to conduct jury trials. When we came back and were able to conduct jury trials, they were on a very limited basis. It had to be a great deal of spacing. Things moved much more slowly. It's been sort of hard. Have we recovered? You know, in large part, we have. I think that we are still behind a little bit. I think that we probably have some cases that have stacked up, but we've gotten a great deal of them covered. The judicial system in Rutherford and Cannon is moving along pretty quickly.
And what is the most challenging aspect of being the district attorney?
Two things. One, for 16 years, I was an assistant district attorney, and I got fairly proficient. I became fairly proficient in handling cases, everything from speeding tickets to murder, and felt pretty good with that. One thing that my career as an assistant district attorney did not prepare me for was managing personnel, and I've had to learn about that on the fly. I think God knows, I hope that I'm doing a good job at that, but that's one hard part. And the second hard part is the same as it was as an assistant. and that's taking cases home. Sometimes you can have a case that has such a horrific fact pattern that it lives in your head, and you have to be very careful that you don't take that case home with you and allow it to affect your life outside of the office, and that can be very difficult.
And how do you, or where do you get the strength to keep moving forward?
Couple of places. One, working with my team at the office. My team is an exceptional group of people. All of us handle some of the same stuff, and so you can talk to each other, and that's a lot of support. Second, my family. When I go home, my wife, when it's been a real bad day, she can get me back on an even keel, and it's awful comforting to be able to sit down with your wife, talk about what's going on with the day, process everything out, and that gets me ready for the next day.
And what is the most rewarding part of your job?
The most rewarding part of my job is providing a little bit of justice, or as much justice as we can get, and a little bit of closure to families of victims in very violent cases. When a family of a victim comes to you and says, "Thank you for what you have done for my loved one. I can be a little bit at peace now," that's a very satisfying part of the job.
Over both of our careers, I know that we've had to do closing arguments, and in murder cases have to do closing arguments. And one of the things that we can't do, it'd be improper to say, is that the defendant, is evil.
Yeah.
But we can say that what they did was evil. Do you believe that there is evil in this world?
Absolutely. There have been, most of the cases that the district attorney's office sees are folks who have made a stupid decision. They're not malicious, most of them. There are some where it is incomprehensible that a person could do what they have done. When you have someone who has committed a multiple homicide in a horrific manner and express zero remorse, you have to believe in evil. We see it in court on a regular basis, and those are the cases where you really want to work for as much jail time as you can.
And we have probably about a minute or so left in this segment, but can you tell me, is there any one case that has stuck with you over your career?
There is. It was my very first vehicular homicide. I had a case where a mother and daughter were driving down I-24. The car that they were in, an SUV, was clipped from behind by an illegal immigrant. It put the car sideways at interstate speeds and caused the car to roll down the interstate. The daughter's last memory of her mother is her mother putting out her arm and holding her back against the seat. And the mother was decapitated, and the daughter's right foot went out the window and was mauled. And that case will always live in my memories. I will never forget it. I believe that the defendant wound up serving as much as we could get for the charge of vehicular homicide, which I want to say was 20 years. But I will always forget that. I will never forget that case. It will always live with me.
My special guest today is the District Attorney General for the 16th Judicial District of Tennessee, Jennings Jones. And when we return, we will continue to be joined by General Jones, who will take us all inside the courts.
Do you suffer from peripheral neuropathy in your hands or feet, burning pain, balance problems, and decreased quality of life? Magnolia Medical Center can help.
This is Dr. David Morris with Magnolia Medical Center. We're in the Ascend building near the fountains in Murfreesboro.
Online at magnoliamedicalcenters.com.
Here at Bud's Tire, we make buying Michelin tires simpler. I'm Allison Mitchell with Bud's Tire Pros. We offer a straightforward approach to service, including nationwide warranties with every purchase. Stop in today to see our full lineup of Michelin and BF Goodrich tires. For whatever you drive, Michelin and BF Goodrich have a tire to fit any need. Bud's Tire Pros, hassle-free, guaranteed. We're located on East Main Street, exactly 3 miles from the town square, 1 mile past Rutherford Boulevard. Visit us online at budstirepros.tn.com.
Your time's valuable, so don't spend it cleaning. Let ByStar Building Solutions do the work for you. At ByStar Building Solutions, they clean and sanitize any size commercial, government, or medical building. Go to ByStarBuildingSolutions.com for more information and a free quote.
We're broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios. Middle Tennessee Electric's Sharing Change has now donated more than $11 million to local nonprofits. Middle Tennessee Electric, serving to make life better since 1936.
This is Inside the Courts. A look at this month's trials, pleas, and grand jury action. Inside the Courts is presented as a courtesy of the Rutherford County Clerk's Office.
Good morning, everyone. This is your District Attorney General, Jennings Jones, and today I will be your tour guide through this episode of Inside the Courts. We begin this segment by stating that none of the defendants named in upcoming trials or hearings have been convicted, and, of course, they are presumed by our law to be innocent. With that as a prelude, we will now go inside the courts. On October 24th of 2020, officers with the Murfreesboro Police Department responded to a shooting that occurred at the intersection of North Tennessee Boulevard and Stonewall Boulevard. Officers discovered the body of Mr. Blake Bolton, who was the victim of 2 gunshot wounds. Albert Miles with the Murfreesboro Police Department has been assigned as the lead investigator in this case. At the conclusion of Detective Miles' investigation, Mr. Cody Gilliam was charged with the first-degree murder of Mr. Bolton. A Rutherford County grand jury indicted Mr. Gilliam for first-degree murder, especially aggravated robbery, burglary to an automobile, possession of meth with the intent to distribute, employment of a weapon during the commission of a dangerous felony, and conspiracy to the above. Mr. Gilliam is represented by counsel Mr. Brennan Foy, while the state is represented by Mr. Trevor Lynch. The next scheduled court date for this case is March the 7th of this year. On April the 9th of 2020, officers with the Murfreesboro Police Department responded to a residence on North Rutherford Boulevard in response to a shooting resulting in the death of Mr. Stephen Lopez Jr. Lead investigator Detective Richard Presley has charged Mr. James Evans III with the second-degree murder of Mr. Lopez Jr. Mr. Evans waived his right to a preliminary hearing and bound his case over to the grand jury. In March of 21, a grand jury returned a true bill against Mr. Evans. Mr. Evans is represented by Murfreesboro attorney Mr. Jack Mitchell, while the state is represented by Assistant District Attorney Trevor Lynch. The next court date for this case is scheduled for April 26th of this year. On September the 18th of 2019, officers with the Murfreesboro Police Department responded to a shooting on Journey Drive. Officers discovered Marquis Turner had been shot in the sidewalk after leaving an event at the Elks Lodge and later died from his injuries. Detective Cody Thomas with the Murfreesboro Police Department was assigned as lead investigator and developed Khalil Smith as a suspect. Upon conclusion of the detective's investigation, Mr. Smith was charged with second-degree murder and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Khalil Smith is presently incarcerated at the Rutherford County Adult Detention Center. In August of last year, a Rutherford County grand jury indicted Mr. Smith for second-degree murder, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and employing a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony. Mr. Smith's next court date is set for March the 9th of this year in the Circuit Courts of Rutherford County. Mr. Smith is represented by counsel Mr. Stephen Perkins, while the state is represented by Mr. Trevor Lynch. On May 16th of 2017, the Murfreesboro Police Department responded to reports of multiple gunshots in the area of Gateway Apartments. Witnesses reported seeing a black male fleeing the area on foot. Additionally, a gunshot victim, Kendrick Love, was located in the front of one of the apartment buildings. Mr. Lev later died from the injuries he sustained. Witnesses on the scene established that the victim went to meet an individual for the purpose of selling marijuana. Additional witnesses identified the individual as Tyshawn Patterson, who matched the description of the male seen running on foot just after the shooting. Detective Doug Arrington with the Murfreesboro Police Department was assigned as the lead investigator in this case. And at the conclusion of the detective's investigation, it was determined that Mr. Patterson went to the alleged marijuana deal armed with a firearm and with the intent to rob the victim. Mr. Patterson has been charged with first-degree murder and attempted aggravated robbery. Mr. Patterson was represented by counsel Mr. Kyle Parks and the state by Assistant District Attorney Trevor Lynch. A trial was held on February 22nd through the 25th, and Mr. Patterson was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. On January 30th of 2023, Mr. Patterson was sentenced to 25 years for second-degree murder, 12 years for robbery in concert with two or more, 4 years for the facilitation to aggravated robbery, and 2 years for conspiracy to facilitation to aggravated robbery. Since Mr. Patterson was a juvenile at the time that he committed these crimes, he will be eligible for parole by state law after service of between 25 and 36 years. On August the 7th of 2014, the Smyrna Police Department responded to reports of multiple gunshots at a residence on Kings Road. Witnesses reported seeing a black male fleeing the area in a champagne-colored Chevy Malibu. The gunshot victim, Danny Wright, was located in the driveway of the residence and later died from his injuries. With no additional information, this case went cold until mid-2019, when a witness came forward with information identifying Enrique Dane DeCourcy as the shooter. The investigation then revealed that Mr. Wright had previously worked on Mr. DeCourcy's vehicle, and Mr. DeCourcy was not happy with the work performed, and believed Mr. Wright had stolen approximately $2,500 by not completing certain repairs. Search warrants were obtained and executed on Mr. DeCourcy's home and storage unit. Ammunition for a .357 semi-automatic pistol was discovered at both locations, and a partially disassembled .357 Glock semi-automatic handgun was located at the storage facility. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation confirmed that based on the cartridge cases and the bullet recovered from Mr. Wright, a .357 Glock semi-automatic handgun was used to kill Mr. Wright. Mr. DeCourcy was arrested, but by law was allowed to make bond through the court system. In 2021, Mr. DeCourcy found the witness and killed him in Mayfield, Kentucky. Mr. DeCourcy was charged with first-degree murder by the Kentucky State Police. On February 1st of 2023, Mr. DeCourcy entered a plea to the second-degree murder of Danny Wright and received a 25-year sentence to serve at 100%. On February 2nd of this year, Mr. DeCourcy appeared before a Graves County, Kentucky court and entered a plea to the first-degree murder of the witness and received a life sentence. Mr. DeCourcy awaits sentencing in April to determine if the sentences will be concurrent or consecutive. On the 26th of June 2019, deputies with the Rutherford County Sheriff's Department responded to a residence on Walnut Grove. Mr. Terry Barber was found deceased on the floor with his hands and feet bound together. Lead investigator Detective Steve Brown has charged 3 individuals, Devin Gailey, Brent Ross, and Vernice Ferrer, with first-degree murder, especially aggravated kidnapping, aggravated robbery, aggravated burglary, and fraudulent use of a debit card. Following a preliminary hearing in the General Sessions Court, the cases were bound over to the grand jury. In June of 2020, a grand jury returned a true bill against all 3 defendants. Devin Gailey was represented by counsel Luke Evans. On January 20th of 22, Mr. Gailey entered a plea of guilty to felony murder and especially aggravated kidnapping and received a life sentence with the possibility of parole and a concurrent 25-year sentence. On March 24th of 2022, Vernice Ferrer was found guilty by a jury of her peers of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. On September the 8th of 2022, Ms. Ferrer was sentenced to a concurrent 25 years in connection with the aggravated robbery, aggravated kidnapping, and aggravated burglary of Mr. Barber. Brent Ross was represented by counsel Michael Jones. A trial was scheduled for January 23rd of this year. Prior to trial, Mr. Ross entered a plea of guilty to first-degree murder, especially aggravated kidnapping, and aggravated robbery. Mr. Ross received a life sentence for first-degree murder and 25 years at 100% for especially aggravated kidnapping and aggravated robbery. He will not be eligible for parole consideration until such time as he has served 51 calendar years. I represented the state in this matter, assisted by Assistant District Attorney Trevor Lynch. On June 8, 2020, deputies with the Rutherford County Sheriff's Department responded to a shooting on Summertime Drive. While en route, deputies observed a vehicle matching the description of the suspect fleeing the area. A traffic stop was conducted and deputies took a driver and Yosin Sir Fumfan into custody. Deputies observed and recovered an object, later identified as a firearm, that had been thrown from the vehicle. At the scene of the shooting, deputies discovered the body of Mr. Thien Nguyen sitting in the driver's seat of his vehicle. Mr. Nguyen had a single gunshot wound to the head. Detective Sergeant Ty Downing has been assigned as lead investigator, and after interviewing witnesses, collecting physical evidence, and execution of search warrants on electronic devices, Yosim Sir Fompham was charged with first-degree murder, attempted especially aggravated robbery, tampering with evidence, and employing a weapon during the commission of an offense. The defendant is represented by Murfreesboro attorney Mr. Will Fraley. The state is represented by Assistant District Attorney Trevor Lynch. This matter is currently set for trial March 20th through the 24th of this year. On April the 30th of 2018, the Laverne Police Department responded to George Buchanan Drive in response to a shooting. Emergency personnel transported the juvenile victim to Vanderbilt Hospital, where they later died from their injuries. The victim's younger siblings were present at the time of the shooting. Detective Hudgens was assigned as lead investigator and assisted by Detective Steve Krotz. It was determined that the victim was attempting to buy a cell phone that had been advertised on social media. At the conclusion of the investigation, it was determined that Brian Berry and Marquise Hughes lured the victim to that location with the intent to rob the victim. During the course of the robbery, either Brian Berry or Mr. Hughes shot the victim. The defendants have been indicted for first-degree murder and aggravated robbery. Mr. Berry is represented by counsel Russ Nixon. The state by Assistant District Attorney Trevor Lynch. This matter is set for trial to begin on April the 17th of this year. And that will conclude today's look inside the courts.
You have been listening to the Roundtable on your Good Neighbor station, WGNS. If you missed any part of today's program, it will be available shortly as a podcast on the WGNS website. As we end our program today, we thank WGNS for providing the airtime. And we thank our producers, Scott Walker and Brian Barrett. We also thank our very special guest, the District Attorney General for the 16th Judicial District of Tennessee, Jennings Jones. Most of all, we thank you for listening. In my closing moments, I also want to invite you to tune in tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for the Tuesday edition of the Roundtable. The Tuesday Roundtable is hosted by Wayne Blair and Rick Hall, and they will be talking all things Smyrna. And please remember to tune in for my next appearance on the Roundtable. That will be next Monday morning on March the 6th at 9 a.m. My guest that day will be Rutherford County Attorney and Bar Association President Whitney Rocky. And please do not touch the dial, because coming up after the break is one of WGNS's most popular hours. It's Rutherford Issues with Brian Barrett. We leave now by saying, stay safe, stay healthy, stay involved, and please stay informed. This is J. Paul Newman, wishing everyone a blessed day.
Premier 6 Theater